You're breathtaking.
Man of Reddit, what are some telltale signs that a woman is creepy? If she doesn't ask me many questions or doesn't seem interested in my life, but still manages to be clingy. When she puts a phone in your trunk on top of your spare tire to track you via GPS. I don't use my trunk. She knew that. She hooked it up to the 12-volt charger in my trunk and put a tracking app on the additional line she bought. I only discovered it when I had a blowout and had to use it. When I questioned her about it, she said she had trust issues. But good news. Every time I told her I was somewhere, I was at that place. We broke up after that. The story had a happy ending for me. It was a toxic relationship. But my next relationship was with the woman who became my wife. We will be celebrating our 8th wedding anniversary in a couple of months. I sometimes wish I had been able to help my ex. She had quite a few good qualities, but the suspicion, insecurity, and attempts to control me were too much for me to deal with at the time. It sucks when you see what someone could become, but you know they probably never will. This girl I met on Tinder had me take her out to a restaurant and then switched tables with her friend. They had been on blind dates and decided to switch. Her friend was not as attractive and I was very uncomfortable. After ordering my food, I went to the bathroom for 10 minutes to contemplate my exit strategy. When I got back, they had both left. The other guy asked if he could sit with me, so we had dinner and he ate his date's enchiladas. It was actually kind of fun after they left. My ex would freak out and throw things and scream at me. That's not the disturbing thing. She would freaking forget about it, hit reset and act like it didn't happen the next day, over and over. I started filming her episodes to prove to myself I wasn't going crazy. When after 2 days she tells you she loves you, and also proceeds to mention that she loves your green eyes so much that if we ever broken up she would steal them while you sleep and keep them in a jar in her room. She'll joke about having kids before you're even in a serious relationship. I went on a couple dates with this one girl who had mentioned how much she wanted kids. Nothing unusual. Pretty common actually. I'm looking forward to being a dad one day. Then she started sending me those weird things where you put two people's pictures together and see what their kids would look like. One time would be quirky, but she sent me a different one every morning for a week. Broke it off when I realized I hadn't even given her a picture of myself. Met this girl in church group in middle school. We got to know each other because of the group but didn't really become friends or anything. Stopped going when I went to high school and never talked to her for 3 years. She commented on a FB status I had and we got to chatting and I agreed to hang out the next weekend. I asked if we should invite other people in our old church group since I hadn't seen any of them in a while and she said no. I thought this was cause she liked me and wanted to hang out with me, so I was flattered. I kept talking to her throughout the day. The next morning I woke up around 10 a.m. to about 7-8 missed calls, 2 voice messages, and countless text messages from her. I was pretty creeped out by then. The nail in the coffin was one of the messages I got was from an old friend from the church group asking me if I talked to that girl. I was confused how my friend knew I talked to this girl the day before. Turns out the girl started messaging my friends asking when I wake up in the morning and why I hadn't messaged her back. I once responded to a flatmate ad, but the criteria was single male 30-ish years old. Turns out she wasn't looking for a flatmate, she was looking for a husband. I was always clear that she would just be a flatmate to me. Weird things included getting upset when I didn't make her aware of when I was coming home or just came home late. She slept in a pile of laundry but the rest of the house was immaculate. I brought a girl home once she moved from the lounge to her bedroom beside mine so she could hear what was going on. Things got super weird after that, lots of daytime texting with nonsense questions and flat meetings, then outright banning my friends. Then an extreme amount of verbal abuse. When I moved out she'd just come up to me and yell stuff like you're such a freaking loser. Basically I had started seeing another girl and she went over the edge. I always refrain from reacting and just get the frick out. Inability to apologize for anything ever. Punishing you / silent treatment for doing something you had no idea would be offensive to them. Having expectations of you that they don't try to meet themselves. In high school there was a girl who liked me. She ended up carving my name into her foot. Asking for your passwords, phone, email, Facebook, etc. as a sign of trust. Nope, I have nothing to hide. However, when you think you need to have that information, it shows you already don't trust me, and anyone who asks and then says they won't use it is lying. They may not use it that day, or even soon, but they will use it at some point, because the same suspicion that led to them asking for it will lead them to use it. Edit. So maybe I wasn't clear about a couple of things. First, I'm not talking about something like your Netflix or Amazon Prime password, which can just be convenience. Hell, I have some of my friends' Netflix passwords. I'm talking phone, email, and social media specifically. Second, if you want to offer it, more power to you, but someone shouldn't ask for that is my thought, especially not as a way to prove that you aren't cheating. And 3, like most things, marriage changes stuff. I still think it's a bit much to have all of someone else's passwords and have access to everything that they ever do. or people say to them, but I understand it a bit more. I had a girlfriend who yelled at me for spending $9,000 on my mountain bike instead of on her. I raced professional and I took her out to dinner at least 3 times a week and got her gifts all the time. Plus we got to travel the world thanks to sponsors. But the one purchase for myself was too selfish. Update, or made chess P2 with box components. Tidy whities staple to her wall is conquests. I've seen it. It's out there. She goes through your drawers when you're sleeping. Finding her collection of hair. Outright refusing to believe that a guy might not be into her advances. I've seen a woman stare in bewilderment at her boyfriend after he had to repeatedly remove her hand from his crotch because she couldn't comprehend that he didn't feel like getting felt up in a public area. I've also had a woman, middle-aged, throw a tantrum because I wouldn't buy her a drink when I, 22 at the time, was at a bar, while I was with my parents and some visiting family members. 60,000 texts will do it. I've posted this before. Boo it. A long time ago in the 90s I was set up on a blind date. The girl knew way too much about me. She knew my brother's names, where I grew up, and other personal stuff you'd have to dig a little to find out. This was pre-Facebook, and back in the 90s she would have had to ask people who actually knew me to find out. She was just a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing. So I noped out of that one pretty quick. Later, I asked the people who had set up the date what the hell etc. And turns out the girl had this super long crush on me and was reportedly devastated that I wasn't into her. Luckily I steered clear of that possible Stephen King novel scenario. They're always talking about themselves, and when they are it's always about some small instance blown out of proportion to make them seem like a constant victim of the world. When she has decided you are her best friend after being around you for an hour. When she starts taking offense to doing anything without her involved. Had one girlfriend who insisted that she be with me for any outing, watching movies with friends, having dinner and drinks with the guys. She always found a way to come along. When I asked why she was so insistent on going everywhere with me, she said she wanted to make sure I wasn't talking to any other girls, and shortly after told me to cut off contact with every girl I regularly talked to. Which really just signaled a huge jealousy/insecurity problem. I told her I wasn't going to do that and to be assured that I chose her to be in a relationship with. If I wanted anyone else I would not have signed up to be with her. That didn't stop her though. One day I went out to have barbecue with the guys without her and noticed on the way there and on the way home a car was following me. It was her making sure there weren't any girls I was talking to. I broke it off with her after that. After a few days of her sending a constant bombardment of angry texts, she finally left me alone. When she blatantly says it's not rape when it happens to men. If they never blink, then something's up. If they have a kid and immediately try and make you the kid's dad, get the frick out. When they know more about your errands than what you told her. Extra creepy point is she becomes angry when you deviate from your initial daily plans. Extra creepy points if she starts angrily texting you when you change your plans as your day is unfolding. Edit. Thanks for caring for me, guys. Hopefully this is not a situation I'm currently or have been in. While I do have an ex both girlfriend and friend which ended up to be a very toxic person for me and I'm still have some mild trust issues because of it. This is not the kind of stuff she would pull off. Well, she did stalk me on some chat room. I was a regular with a fake persona and it should have been a wake-up call for me to run very far away. It didn't, and we ended up hurting each other a lot afterwards. I'm a girl. Just went on this thread to nervously check if I'm creepy. In my experience, constantly talking about how people don't get them. All of their exes are crazy. I only hang out with guys. I had a boss who acted like I could do no wrong. She praised me and thought I was the best. Then one day like a switch she turned on me. She acted like I was the spawn of Satan. I don't know how I didn't lose my job. Somehow I weaseled my way out of that mess. Then I noticed she does the same thing with all her new men employees. I don't take well to obsessive praise anymore after her. She's hot but still interested in you. She asks you your sign, then giggles, gives crazy eyes, and says we're compatible. She asks what your religion is, and when you give an answer different than hers you hear her mutter we could work on that. Happened to me. She was a weekly church goer and I'm atheist. Calling up to my job and saying she's my wife and she's trying to get a hold of me. We had 2 dates, Linda. I didn't even frick you, but you're frickin' crazy. Leave me alone, Linda. WHOTF is even named Linda anymore. Long black fingers with heavily pointed fingernails, arched back at the neck with eyes as black as pitch, mouthless face, matted hair, pungent scent, speaks telepathically through visual symbols, carries a belt of skulls and only appears after dark. I hate these threads cause shit him girlfriend does always gets brought up. When she thinks my beard/hair is public domain. Drunk girls at bars freaking love to just walk up and grab my beard or run their fingers through my hair. Excuse me, bitch? I don't freaking care how hot you think are. Keeping your greasy freaking thought fingers away from my freaking face. If you would like to touch either, freaking say hey, you have a real nice beard/hair. Would you mind if I felt it? And I'd be happy to give you a go. But don't freaking think for 1 second that you're entitled to just start touching me just because you're hot. It's creepy as frick and makes me uncomfortable. Not to mention, who the hell likes random people grabbing their face? If I just walked around drunk grabbing girls' faces or hair, I'd be in jail by the end of the night with a pie and an assault charge. But these girls just run around freaking touching people and think it's okay. Please subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the channel to grow. See you again.